The print, 4th of April 2023, Pakistan has stepped perilously close to Chinese control. And is currently a slave of China. Get up, West. With debt trap loans and corrupting the Pakistani elite with debt loans, China has dominated Pakistan, creating a situation akin to the East India Company's subjection of Muslims. The buzz of the town is China's expanding presence in the Middle East, as it aids Saudi Arabia and Iran in mediating their conflicts. However, Samir Lalwani, a senior scholar at the Stimson Center, calls attention to Asia in a recent report for the United States Institute for Peace, USIP. He argues that Beijing's influence has grown more pronounced in South Asia. Since the 1960s, China has been one of Pakistan's major armament suppliers, but the dependence is now more significant than ever due to a lack of alternatives. The USIP special report on China-Pakistan military ties draws attention to the two countries' steadily improving security ties. Additionally, as Lalwani accurately notes, these specialties focus on military technologies. After its second war with India and the second crucial American arms embargo, Islamabad no longer has the financial resources to purchase items off the shelf as it did in the 1970s. It also doesn't belong to any alliance that would significantly advance military technology. The special report's thesis may not be novel. Still, it serves as a warning to the Western audience, which recently became mired in the illusion of the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC) relationship, viewing it as a severe impediment to bilateral relations between the neighbors. In truth, Western diplomats would prefer to believe that the West possesses more soft power because Pakistani civil and military leadership and their families are located in US and European capitals, not China. Despite the fact that their relationship is higher than mountains, deeper than oceans, and sweeter than honey, I haven't even heard of senior generals' sons and daughters living in China. A general consensus is that countries like Pakistan or Sri Lanka may not wholly join the Chinese camp, given their dire economic circumstances and the West's ability to use international financial organizations like the Financial Action Task Force, FATF, and the International Monetary Fund, IMF, to influence resource-dependent states' behavior. The lack of resources is a significant factor in why Chinese influence had not permeated Pakistan to the degree expected when the CPEC deal was signed in 2016. Thus this judgment might not be too far off from reality. According to sources I spoke with, a lack of confidence is one of the reasons China is not making special efforts to assist Pakistan. The Chinese leadership is aware that, although giving the BRI some lip service, Pakistan's military establishment is not yet prepared to join Beijing's security bloc. The relationship in two dimensions relationship built on a debt trap. The two-dimensional China-Pakistan relationship has several facets, with CPEC being just one. The military-security connection between the two Asian allies, which primarily centers on the supply of armaments and technology, served as the foundation for developing the CPEC. The roles are not reversed. What Lalwani refers to as a threshold alliance in the study is essentially the tale of China forging ties based on mutual needs that are both shared and long-lasting. The common geostrategic objectives of China and Pakistan, for which Kashmir is the point of dispute, are not included in the threshold relation. The Pakistani delegation, which included the country's then Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Army Chief Pervez Musharraf, went to Washington to negotiate a withdrawal during the 1999 Kargil crisis after visiting Beijing, where they received no encouragement to continue with the military operation. The head of the PLA Air Force reportedly told Air Chief Marshal, retired, P.Q. Mehdi, who was a group member, that he would be pleased to provide any amount of technology if he received the approval of the civilian leadership, which he ultimately did not. China did not want the confrontation to continue. Despite Pakistan's ongoing economic crisis, China has continued to provide VT-4 tanks, JF-17 Thunder and J-10 multi-role fighter aircraft in Block 3, and JF-17 Thunder aircraft. Regardless of Pakistan's financial capabilities, Beijing will continue bolstering the military might of its ally by offering its technologies to be utilized in conflict with India, notwithstanding its dissatisfaction over the Kargil incident. Relations between China and Pakistan can be divided into two categories: A. The more recent CPEC relationship, which is driven by Beijing's need for economic projection and Pakistan's need for economic development and has less potential, and B. The tried-and-true military-security relationship, which is not one-sided and serves both China's and Pakistan's needs equally. Although they may be related, the two components are maintained apart to prevent the more recent economic relationship from impacting the more established military relationships. The Tomahawk cruise missile that inadvertently landed in Pakistan in 1998 or the Black Hawk helicopter that crashed in Abbottabad during the campaign to find and kill Osama bin Laden are just two examples of how Pakistan has long been a source of Western technology production to China. The military technological assistance Pakistan provided to China throughout the years is not mentioned in Lalwani's study. As an illustration, consider the PF's contribution to the JF-17 Thunder project, which is a co-development and co-production. Due to its knowledge of both Chinese and superior Western technology, which also meant a greater sense of quality control and standardization than what the Chinese originally had, Pakistan could provide assistance. Beijing also uses Pakistan as a showcase for its technology, which is offered for sale to other developing nations. It will be interesting to see how this dependent relationship develops in the future, as Pakistan no longer has unrestricted access to Western technologies. In actuality, both China and Pakistan are prohibited access to Western technologies. Project delays were caused by the Germans' refusal to use Chinese Type 039 submarine engines. Nevertheless, as suggested in Lalwani's report, Pakistan will get its first submarine by 2024. According to sources in Pakistan, alterations that will need to be made to the submarines built with the German engine in mind may cause delays or cost overruns. Chinese threats and Pakistan's enslavement. The general strategic culture of Pakistan's armed forces, which has been a component of the Western security constellation, will also be impacted by the country's growing dependence on a single supplier for technology, China. In the past, Islamabad imported a select few crucial technologies from the West. Pakistan no longer travels to Europe and the US for weaponry training. It used to buy Chinese technology that was of lower quality to boost its numbers. This provided access to Western technology training and a potent mix of high and low technology. But it still favors Western military education programs, many of which are now provided by the UK. Donald Trump halted Pakistan's participation in the American International Military Educational Training (IMET) program. It was later reinstated, but for several reasons, including COVID, it never continued. The officer cadre's inclination toward the West has largely been maintained thanks to this training. It makes sense that General Bajwa drew his nation back into the Western security constellation when there was concern that it would slip toward the China camp. However, there will undoubtedly be a tilt in the organization due to less general training in the West and more weapons training for operators in China. Let's not forget that, despite the lack of options for relocation, visitors to China often express their admiration for the country's progress and rate of development. I predict that, eventually, this may widen the organizational chasm. Today, as opposed to the higher echelons that still consider maintaining equilibrium or preserving its connections with the US, weapons operators and end users that I met with think more in terms of aligning with China in times of a strategic crisis. Chinese viewpoint is that the situation is good. It implies that it is not required to press Pakistan to build Gwadar. Instead, hold off on indulging until there is a suitable opportunity. As long as the conflict with India persists, Pakistan will continue to rely on China.